Hello and welcome to a sort of analysis video on the current state of Overwatch as of the 6th of October 2015. My thoughts on the beta and Overwatch in general. First off, this video will be around 50% Team Fortress 2 footage, 35% Overwatch pre-beta footage from the official gameplay channel, Play Overwatch, and 15% custom graphics to illustrate a few of my points. So before any further analysis, I thought I would quickly take you through a list of my top 5 Overwatch characters. Number 1, Tracer. I feel that this character not only looks the most fun to play, but also seems to have a nice skill cap, which hopefully won't get too boring as a class to play in the future. Number 2, McCree. Only reason that McCree is number 2 and not number 1, like, from his design alone, he's a really awesome character, but I feel that the gameplay released on their channel shows him having a pretty low skill ceiling, with flashbangs pretty much equaling a free kill. Number 3, Bastion. I feel like he has some pretty awesome design and also pretty cool gameplay. I really enjoy the tank mode that sort of isn't in his actual official video, but it's been publicly known now that it's changed to that from his original one, which was a remote controlled mine, which is pretty lame in hindsight. Number 4 is Henzo, and I mean he has a bow and arrow. That's pretty much the only reason he's number 4. And number 5 is Farah. I play Soldier the most in TF2, and I find that the Soldier in TF2 is pretty much the most fun class, so I'm pretty much number 5 is there because I'm interested to see if she's as fun to play as the Soldier is in TF2. The rest of the classes, heroes, whatever you want to call them, I'll have continued in this list here, but going through them all and my opinions on them will take forever, so pause the video if you're interested in just seeing the rankings for them, but there won't be any descriptions of why I think they're in that position or whatever. So the reason that quite a bit of this footage on this video is Team Fortress 2 footage is that parallels can still be made between the two games. I mean, obviously they're not the same game, otherwise people would just be flocking back to TF2, but you can still draw quite a few similarities. I mean, they're both arcadey, they're both first-person shooters, and they both have that sort of stylized theme to them, which a lot of FPSs currently don't have. In this image, I've organized all the characters into similar slots as they would appear in TF2, so most obviously, Scout compared to Tracer, Widowmaker to the Sniper, Torbjorn and the Engineer, and Farah and Soldier. But these are kind of the most obvious comparisons, and I characterize the rest of the characters based on more of their roles and playstyles that suit both Team Fortress 2 and Overwatch's games. Sort of like the Demo Man and Junkrat, sort of characterized into this spam, choke-holding class type that really, it's not a set class, but they have similar characteristics between the Demo and Junkrat, and I feel that Pyro and Reinhardt have a sort of protective theme around their carries, which, I don't know if you've played much TF2, but the Pyro, in competitive at least, has a form of protective role solely on the medic and engineer's sort of nest. So I feel like Reinhardt also plays into that sort of defensive role, either carrying around the Mercy or mainly protecting the carries of the team, so they'll be like Tracer or Bastion or Tracer or McCree, or maybe even Farah or Henzo, and these classes are sort of carries for the team. But you'll notice in this one photo that one class is blank, the Spy. And while all the characters for the game haven't even been released yet, it's kind of baffling that a character with similar sort of characteristics to the Spy has not been released yet. Even Reaper, a character that is sort of pretty sneaky, is more similar to a Scout in the way of flanking and distracting, rather than getting picks for the team, which is often the Spy's role in TF2. That sort of made me think about pick classes in Overwatch and what sort of options you have. Obviously, most notably, you have Widowmaker, but she is much easier to compare rather than the Spy, but more to the Sniper in TF2, except she has a really crappy sniper rifle. So now I sort of wanted to talk about the stage in which Overwatch Beta has sort of come along, and the beta in itself is on the 6th of October 2015, supposed to be released tomorrow. That is according to a lot of people on Reddit, and something I do not believe. I mean, it's pretty much been confirmed that that's not the case, but I mean, the hype train is real on Reddit, so everybody sort of gets pumped up about it, and the second one person's pumped up, the whole bloody subreddit goes off, so you know, you get that sort of overlapping sense of hype, and then everybody just thinks the beta's tomorrow. But to be honest, if it was, I'd be happy. I doubt I'd get in, but I mean, that'd be something awesome to happen. But it's almost definitely coming after BlizzCon if you wanna put a date on it. And if so, I mean, it is fall, which is any time from really now till the end of November, so it could be any time. So the beta itself on a date isn't exactly what I'm going to focus on, because really in talking about the beta, there is real no point talking about the date, because Overwatch said that anything leaked is not true, and all information coming out about the beta will be in official channel form. So, just quickly on the beta, I feel like that Overwatch beta is going to be more focused on getting out gameplay for people who are interested in these classes, not necessarily people playing the game themselves. And while it is more of a technical test than anything, I really hope that a lot of people can experience the game for what it's worth and understand the whole concept behind it more than we currently do based on solely gameplay trailers, really. I mean, we have occasional YouTubers putting in their information that they've obtained from, say, going to sessions at Blizzard and other various events like PAX East, and people have played the game in the community. It's not like it's still just gameplay trailers. I mean, we have more to go off than that, but the game itself in a beta form is really just going to be a technical test, and people thinking that it's just their easy passage to get the ability to play the game as a beta isn't really what it's for. But I mean, I'm really looking forward to the beta. Hopefully that, like Heroes of the Storm, like Hearthstone, like any of Blizzard's recent sort of additions, they have a private stage where people who are really interested in the game, people who have expressed interest early on, and people who are really wanting to, get into that game, they've been allowed access earlier than everyone else. But there still will be a public beta, which, I mean, for a game like Overwatch, you really need to stress test that kind of thing, and public betas are pretty much the only way you're going to do that and get a massive audience to people who, I don't know if you know who Delphi is, but he makes videos on TF2 pretty much exploiting glitches. And I mean, if he hasn't solved like half of TF2's glitches based on making them public and then Valve just sort of going, shit, we have to fix this, I mean, I don't know who else would do that sort of stuff. So a public test is pretty much the only way that you're not going to get a game completely riddled with bugs by the time it's actually on the footstep of its release. So I think a public beta is almost guaranteed for a game like Overwatch. I mean, any FPS needs balancing issues, and I mean, balancing issues hard. I mean, from what you can see in the gameplay trailers, I mean, all of them try and like big up the class or hero that they're showing off in that video, but I mean, Tracer's is mental. I mean, that bomb is an insane amount of damage, and her blink mixed with teleport back, I mean, it's an insane combo and will be exploited to hell. I mean, if there's a competitive aspect, there is going to be a Tracer on your team. I mean, the mobility, the possibility for bursts, I mean, she's pretty much a guaranteed class. That's why she's number one on my list. I mean, she just looks like she's pretty much, she makes the game. She makes a game she's in. She can be the player of the game easily. And that's pretty much, I mean, all I want to talk about regarding the beta. I mean, the beta is what it is. It can't be anything more than an unconfirmed, I mean, it's never going to be confirmed. I mean, anybody who tells you otherwise is just lying. I mean, there's no way you can get a confirmed date until obviously they put it out officially. But that's going to come in due time, and that time is not now. So finally, I wanted to continue talking about the classes that I had on that sheet before, which I'll bring up now. And it's sort of talk about some of my opinions on why the classes that aren't just straightforward are in there. So one of the things that I think is probably not one of the most straightforward in there is Zenyatta in Medic. And while his role is support, according to Blizzard, I feel like Zenyatta is more, it could be considered Medic as a passive sort of style, but also could be played as a engineer style class in which it's more about providing advantages to your team through disadvantaging your enemy. And I feel like the engineer in TF2 is quite strong at that, in the fact that his sentries are usually not the thing that kills enemy players. I mean, level 2s have increased knockback, radius, and range, which means that they're more of a support building or structure, and Zenyatta's sort of the same. His healing orb and orb of discord not only assist your team like you would with a dispenser, but they also assist you in getting kills like you would with sentry gun assists. I also think that Bastion in heavy is sort of a weird category, but I'm putting him there, not the fact that he has a minigun on his turret, but more of the fact that the way you play the heavy in TF2, especially on defense, is playing around objectives and playing defensive for the team. And while I can see people who enjoy and really master Bastion, playing him offensively and playing him offensively effectively, the same can be done with Heavy. I mean, the Heavy is probably, in my opinion anyway, the lowest skill cap class in TF2. I mean, he does nothing. He just absorbs bullets and puts out bullets. I mean, that's his job. He's a tanky beast, and that's pretty much all he does. I mean, all the other classes, I mean, Scout, you've got double jumps, you've got movement, you've got strafing, you've got all this stuff. Soldier, you've got air shots. Pyro, you've got reflects. Demos, you've got pipe accuracy. Stickies. Engineer, I mean, Engineer is one of the other classes where I don't want to come off saying that it's a no-skill class, but, I mean, it's one of those classes where you don't really need to do as much. Medic, I mean, Medic is probably more, if you like phrase it around CSGO terms, it's kind of like an in-game leader position where you got to be coordinating the pushes, and especially in a community environment, and competitive environment, sorry. I knew that the couple of teams I've played for TF2 competitive, the medic has been the captain, and that is a really good way of doing it because they're going to be the in-game leader in game. They're going to be calling the shots, they're going to be pushing. I mean, it's the perfect class. Sniper, one of the highest skill caps, really. I mean, I'm going to take Scout as number 1, Soldier as number 2, Sniper as number 3. I mean, there's some high skill cap classes, and even the Spy. I mean, invisibility and all, you see some really rubbish pub spies, and you can just see the level of like mastery it takes to get good at them. But the Heavy is just a bullet sponge, and while that can be fun to play sometimes, especially if you use just Brass Beast and sit around a corner, I mean, he's a fun class, but he's not a really skillful one. But Bastion, I can see people mastering the hell out of that champion and playing him really effectively aggressive. Reinhardt is sort of in the same vein as Bastion, so I didn't know whether to put him in Heavy as more of a tank. But I mean, I felt like, as I mentioned before, it's sort of that supportive role, so it's sort of fun to keep him around the Mercy, keep him around your Torbjorn, and just sort of, you know, set up shop somewhere. Zyra is actually a really interesting champion, or hero. She sort of has this, like Demoman, mass crowd control ability, and I feel like that is just like perfect for Demoman. I mean, Demoman in TF2 is all about objectives and choke points, and Zyra is pretty much the same. I mean, her ultimate is so good in a choke point. If you have a Zenyatta and a Henzo, a Soldier 76, a Tracer, anybody who bursts in a limited space, that combo is just going to destroy them. Even Pharah, where it's sort of a longer period of time, but god, that combo will destroy somebody. I feel like, yeah, she's just a perfect class for holding people down, and that's the same as Demo. Another one that's sort of, I don't know, maybe questionable as well, I'd say, is probably Henzo. And while you could consider him a pick class, so you'd maybe put him in with Sniper, he has this flanky sort of feeling, and his wall climb ability just sort of means he's everywhere on the map, and the Scout is all about flanking. So I feel like he's a perfect fit into that sort of offensive role. And I mean, the Scout, Soldier, Pyro, they're all offensive. Demo, Heavy, Engie, they're all defensive. And Medic, Sniper, Spy are considered they support slash, I like to think of them as support and pick roles. I mean, the Sniper and Spy are pretty much there for, at least in competitive, picking off carries. And the carries being Scout, Soldier, Demo. So that is pretty much wrapping up my opinion on all the classes in general, how they relate to TF2, sort of that comparison they get from game to game, and really Overwatch in general. I really am looking forward to this game, and to be honest, even though I rate all these champions in the way I do and the way that they're sort of organized in a tier, I'm going to be playing all of them. There's no doubt I'm playing all of them. I'm going to play Junkrat, even though he's the bottom of my list, the very bottom. I'm not a fan of Junkrat. I mean, his design, if this is like an end of video Junkrat rant, because honestly, Junkrat and Roadhog are two of the most boring characters I've ever seen, and I've told people about this, and they're just like, no, I don't understand. I like the characters, and to me, they just feel like sort of lazy visual design. Well, not lazy, but they're just sort of unintuitive. I mean, they feel like, I'm not going to go into a rant about their visual design, but even their abilities, they just seem like boring characters to play. Roadhog's a little bit higher just because of his ultimate, looks quite a lot of fun, and the fact that he's a tank, I mean, his abilities are going to be boring. So it kind of makes up for it. But Junkrat, I mean, he's supposed to be a carry. He's supposed to get in the battle. And I just feel like his ability skill set limits him to being a sort of defensive character, and I don't think that's right for him. I want him to be a really aggressive character. I mean, he needs to, I don't know, maybe his wheel that he has as his ultimate, called Riptire, has more HP, but it means he can ride in it, and when it blows up, he gets thrown back a certain distance. That would be cool. That would make him more aggressive. His grenade launcher could have a shorter cooldown. It could just make him a more fun character to play, whereas it seems like, oh yeah, Riptire, you just gotta sit at the back, hopefully you don't get shot, and hopefully your tire that has 2 HP doesn't get shot as well. It just seems like a not fun thing to do, whereas being able to ride in your tire, how cool would that be? I mean, that'd be it would pretty much be in the top 5 almost for me. But yeah, that's going to wrap up the video now after my Junkrat rant. And remember to subscribe for more Team Fortress 2, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, and Overwatch gameplay in the future. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.